welcome to the 7-Day Chakra Challenge. I followed the chakra sequences from this book as diligently as possible. The meditations were inspired by some online research, meaning pose, mantra, and mudra. Today we're focusing on the third chakra, manipura, or the solar plexus chakra, so let's get heated up.
I started in Virasana using a block to support my hips. I stayed here for about 2 minutes and then did 3 rounds of the Kapalbhati pranayama breath. You'll see my stomach moving forcefully, if that makes any sense. I'm exhaling very strongly, and I'll explain more about the Kapalbhati breath at the end. But I was supposed to actually go into a plank after this and totally forgot. So, sorry. So let's pretend I did 2 minutes of plank and then it moved into downward dog Adho Mukha Svanasana for 1 minute. Then I went into child's pose for 5 to 10 breaths and then back into downward dog for 1 minute. Something I would do differently here is actually include more wrist preparation, stretches and exercises to make sure the wrists are nice and warmed up before I get started putting weight on my hands. But it wasn't in the book and I wanted to see how it felt, and nothing hurt, so everything was fine. But I do recommend, before doing anything on your hands, to do lots of wrist stretches first. From Tadasana, I went into 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar A, which I think is my favorite flow, as it feels very even and symmetrical the whole way throughout. Here, the book said to emphasize moving from the core, so I did my best with that. And then after 3 rounds of Surya Namaskar A, I went into an elbow plank, or also called Shishula Palakasana, and also doing the Kapalbhati breath in this pose. This was hard. This was very difficult, so I did my best. Not gonna lie, it definitely looks funny to watch myself doing this breath. Just so you know, I am sped up 2 times here, so it does look faster than it actually is. And then I went to dolphin pose, or Shishulasana, for 5 breaths, and then pressed up into downward dog for 5 breaths. And then a dancing warrior sequence 3 times on each side, holding each pose for 5 breaths. So really getting warmed up. A lot of standing poses, but still moving. So it does feel different than the sacral chakra movements, as that one was a little bit shorter in each flow. This one we're building up the heat and making things fiery. Okay, here comes the crazy core work and hand balances. But first we're starting in Navasana for 5 breaths. I never know if I should point or flex my toes here. I just alternate, I guess. And then moving into Ardha Navasana for 30 seconds, also with a Kapalbhati breath. Crazy! This is crazy! Some of these transitions also didn't feel very smooth, but I did my best. So here we're going into Tolasana, which I have only tried a few times before, but it turned out pretty okay. I'm speeding up these arm balances by 4 times, so you can see how I used some blocks to try different attempts to work towards these arm balances that I'm just not great at. So practice is key. I'm going in between Talasana and Lalasana back and forth. If you don't yet have a pair of blocks at home for yoga, go get some. They are so useful. You can use them for almost every pose. They're very, very, very helpful. And possibly the only arm balance that I actually enjoy is moving from Bhuja to Titipasana, firefly pose. I've always loved this pose forever and ever. And then I went into Bakasana, or an attempt at Bakasana. And if you're ready for some real, in-time, honest, raw feedback for how I feel about all of these arm balances, here it comes. Here's what I consider the beginning of the cool down, from Supta Baddha Konasana into a happy baby pose, and then into Setu Bandha Sharvangasana and Urdhva Dhanurasana twice. Now, twists are a huge part of balancing the manipura chakra. Mark Stevens, in this book of yoga sequencing, says, "With twists, we can both stimulate and dampen the fire, thereby cultivating and directing energy in a way that is in keeping with our intention in any given practice." So after some passive twists, I went into some active twists with Jathara Parivartanasana 5 times on each side. And the next exercise was to laugh out loud in happy baby pose. So if you don't want to hear it, pause and skip. I hope that was as entertaining for you as it was for me. It was definitely outside of my comfort zone. I don't really like to make noise when I'm doing yoga or just in general, but just forcing myself to say a few ha-has actually made me laugh out loud, so it did work. So now we're going to Dandasana and then Upavishta Konasana for 2 minutes. 2 whole minutes, that's a long time. And I transitioned into Parivrita Janu Shirshasana for 1 minute on each side. And then Ardha Matsyendrasana for 5 breaths on each side. So getting into those deeper twists. And for the last poses, Paschimottanasana for 2 minutes, plank pose for 5 minutes, 5 breaths, and then I did legs up the wall pose for 2 or 3 minutes, actually going over to the wall this time. It's worth it, so go do it, go move, find a wall, and then I went into Shavasana for about 5 minutes. Before my meditation, I did more Kapalbhati breath, and I'll let you hear what it sounds like in real time, not sped up. And then I went into my mantra meditation, chanting Ram.
Let's talk about the manipura chakra. All of these sequences so far have been very difficult, very challenging. I've done my best. I had to modify a few poses, some things that I just can't do, and that's fine. So I used props when I needed to, and I adjusted when I needed to. Let's talk about the different symbols associated with the solar plexus chakra or the manipura chakra. The color yellow. I have nothing, absolutely nothing yellow in my closet, so I borrowed my boyfriend's t-shirt. We used 2 stones today, 2 crystals. One is citrine, and one of them, I don't remember what it is. It's some sort of, you know what, I think it's Libyan glass, and I'll let you know if that's correct. I'll do some research because I forgot. I don't have anything labeled, so that's my bad. The mudra that I used was thumb, index finger, and ring finger together. It's the mudra of strength, from what I read, and I'll also link it down below. One of the very interesting things that I did during the practice and right before meditation was the Kapalabhati breath. Is that right? Kapalabhati breath, which is a skull shining breath. And I'll link a video down below from the wonderful woman who I watched before the practice to make sure I was doing it right. I have done this breathing technique before, this pranayama before, but it's been a while, and I would consider myself a beginner with this breath. So I did only do it 30 times in a row, as she suggested. I got really sweaty. It was really hard. There were many more arm balances than I thought there would be. I thought it would be a lot more core, but it was a lot on the arms too. The arm balances were all core engaging though. All arm balances are pretty much core engaging, but these were, you know, tucking the knees in like Virasana. It's so hard for me. I haven't gotten it down yet. But all in all, I enjoyed it. The hard part was over faster than I thought it would be. So it was nice. I liked it. I feel energized. I'm hoping that this chakra balancing yoga class will help me with some decisions I have to make, because the solar plexus chakra is associated with decision making and confidence and taking action. So this guy knows what he wants. And that's it. I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye. Okay, get up. Now you don't want to get up? Okay, let's go. Let's go, BB.